how do you take the brand, right? How do you take your concept, your mission, your thought, your idea? How do you let people know about it?
Yeah,
What the answer today is very different than it was even 5 years ago,
sure. Sure. I think
right?
it's interesting because I almost challenge the premise first that people know what you just said correctly. That they know their mission, that they know their brand, that they know
Oh,
what they're
right.
actually trying
So
to
they
do,
may
right?
not.
And that they've humanized it first and foremost,
Right.
right? In a world filled with AI slop and basically like easy button generated content,
Right.
we are we're yearning for connection. And brands that are going to connect on a deeper level are the ones that are going to win through this evolution we're going through right now. Because they're gonna make people feel seen and feel known and feel recognized and feel like, oh yeah, you mineralize your water, of course you do. Because you're part of my tribe. You're part of the people that do what I do. We're a collective. We're aware of one another. I see you, or you don't do that yet. That's okay. I do many of the same things you do, and you might want to consider. But I'm not selling it to you. I'm solving,
Sure.
right? And it's funny. I'm wearing the shirt today.
What are you wearing? I love that. If you're not
That's
helping people, you're just selling stuff.
that's what I constantly go by. And
Yep.
that's something I we coined a conductor, and something I think is a hard and akin to good marketing is recognizing how to solve for people, not sell to them. We don't have a lack of people selling to us. That's not the issue. Go look
Yeah.
in your LinkedIn inbox, right? God, if I
Yeah.
need another person tell me, could you use another five CMOs? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, why aren't you in my other inbox? They created an other inbox just for all the spam I get on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But like, I really don't need more of that. I need more genuine connection of, hey, I saw you on this podcast. It really connected with me. No, I'm not going to try and sell you something, but rather, I was thinking about what you said, not AI written content that says in a digital landscape, blah, 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 blah. Like, enough of that. Like, I want genuine interaction. And when I get that, you, for whatever it's worth, you get my attention.
For
There's a
3 hours plus plus.
right, right? You thought it was going to be 15 minutes,
It
but the
was
re
supposed to be 15 minutes, three
I'm
hours and
I'm
15
not I'm
minutes
not good
later.
I'm not good at being short about things. What do you want?
No, it was I needed that conversation, I needed that connection, I needed that alignment at
Yeah.
that moment more than you knew. And it was perfect. And
So did
perfect
I
moment,
more than you
perfect
knew.
timing.
So more than you knew. So it really was a really kismet type of meeting.
It
So
really was. So I want to chat today about your level of expertise
sure.
because it is it's one thing to understand how to navigate in today's environment, digital environment and know the tech stack that is going to work for this or that. But it's also another thing to understand how we got here and have an evolution and history and knowledge base on what worked and what didn't work, because the same things are going to work and not work. They're going to happen differently. They're going to happen with different tools. But you really are a wealth of knowledge around how the algorithms were born, how they've evolved. I had a very interesting conversation with somebody yesterday about the need for browsers. Why do you
Mm.
need a browser today? And I hadn't even thought about it until they brought it up. It's another podcast for another day and another subject matter, but all
Yup.
of these things affect our business. And if you are a small business owner or an entrepreneur or somebody thinking about building a business, the way you communicate and how you engage with, I say your audience, but your audience is your clients, your customer base, the people that you are trying to sell to. And I say sell to because we all have a product, whether an actual widget or a service that we provide. I don't sell what I do. The organization has been private and quiet and by introduction only for 28 years. We're in our 28th year. My partner started the organization and I've been his partner for 15 years now. Maybe that's not such a great thing. I think it's wonderful, right? We get to hand select and pick the people that are a good fit, the energy, the environment, the culture, we protect at all costs. We only take about 40% of the people that we're introduced to because it is not for everyone. So, how do you take um, anything that's new or anything that was legacy, and I say legacy, but has been around for at least 10 years, right? Because everybody's communication has changed, like almost overnight. And I think we're still just scratching the surface of what that looks like. Because we're all, you mentioned AI language, you don't want that, right? I think if you're using AI in any capacity at this point, you kind of recognize AI language. You know when
Yep.
it's not a human that actually is communicating with you. My typos, my conversational writing, which is not
Right.
punctually correct, tells you I am a real person.
Yes.
It used to be it told you that I wasn't paying attention, right? But
It
today it
might tell
tells
you
you
I was a
I'm
bad
human.
student. It might tell you I was a bad student. No, that those are all valid points. I think, you know, it's really it's really important to think about where we are and what we're up against and what we're actually trying to accomplish. So it's funny, you made mention earlier of my knowledge of the algorithms and kind of having witnessed them and all things that frankly make my beard whiter. But like
I
the
have red hair
reality,
now. I have
we're not
some.
comparing. We're not comparing. All I'm saying is I've seen a lot, right?
Yeah,
But what's interesting is the same mistakes businesses make day in and day out, whether they're Fortune 500, Internet Retailer 1000s, or frankly, like small business owners. I see the very similar mistakes made over and over again, just different versions of the same mistakes. So it's a pattern you can kind of identify and then you can look to solve. And where we are in the tech not stack, but rather where we are in the evolution of technology allows us to make choices of when and how and where to use this stuff to our advantage. It can also be very much used to our detriment. So, I think we also have to remember if you're on the marketing side of the house, if you have been kind of drinking from the fire hose of AI for the last 2 years, let's be honest, that's what it is. You need to remember that you're in a bubble. A majority of the US population still doesn't use ChatGPT and or Perplexity and or Gemini beyond, hey, it can make a cool picture for my kid, or hey, it can help with the homework, or hey, it can, sure, I can search something on it once in a while, but it's not really my go-to, right?
right.
Or whoa, I don't want to give that thing data. There was a time and place where we thought Google was God, right?
Yeah,
The first result was the best, but the reality is that the first oncologist that comes up when it comes to best cancer doctor is not necessarily the person with the highest rate of curing cancer. So the reality was the population had to adopt a technology, become dissuaded with it, realize its faults, and then come to terms of what it really should use it for. In that, hey, a search engine, yes, the thing at the top is probably more relevant to what I was looking for than the thing at the bottom. And page two is where you hide a dead body because no one goes there. And the SEO jokes, right? And basically knowing this, right, was a dismay that had to happen. And then like the cows, so to speak, woke up to the slaughter. And I think you have the same thing going on with AI right now. We're like, oh, yeah, everyone uses AI because we're so in it. But the reality is that, again, most people that approach me about AEO, GEO, AIO, and all these acronym soup that has to basically do with optimizing for something out there that's trying to figure out your website. Um, Most of the people are doing that by blog, by social, the thing they last heard. Business owner doesn't know about the SEO of marketing, let alone the 101, and is asking me about the 505 and why they should be in the 505. And it's like, time out. You need to step away. One, it's not been adopted at the rate that we're acting like it has. Two, if you look at the financials behind it, there's a lot of questions as to what happens. Doesn't mean AI won't exist. It just means maybe it's not meant to be a chatbot. Maybe it's not meant to be this version we're looking at right now. Maybe browsers do or don't matter. Calling to another conversation you had, right?
Yeah.
So we do need to recognize that people are going to go, they're going to start using AI. Remember, AI and LLMs are synonymous with one another, meaning ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Grok, all of these names are synonymous with LLMs. And the reality is, AI is also being blamed for a lot of the firings and mass layoffs we're seeing. So there is a counterculture that may happen where AI and also all of the doom and gloom, all of the apocalyptic conversations about how we need to stop press the brake pad because Anthropic's CEO is saying, hey, maybe this thing is getting a little too big and a little too fast and a little out of control, which is scary. And a lot of people are echoing that in the social spheres and everywhere else. So we are really at a place where AI is going to be adopted, then they're going to realize, oh, wow, it doesn't go from most relevant to least relevant. You mean the second thing it mentions might be completely made up? Okay, I'm not really sure how much I should trust it. There's no like confidence score in the answers I get back. And once the user kind of becomes accustomed to that, I think we'll see how AI is really going to be used going forward, but not the thing we're
There's
watching right now.
so much about what you just said. Oh my God, we could have an hour's conversation
Sorry,
on each.
you opened the
No,
door. I just
and
walked through.
that's exactly why we're doing this because you are a wealth of knowledge. Um, I don't think you can put the genie back in the box,
No,
in the bottle. I think that um, the concerns you just stated are all very valid and accurate, and it's some of the things that we talk about, right, with
Mhm.
amongst business owners about um, when you are building something, what does that look like? The efficiencies of building today, creating today, are unbelievable, right?
Yes.
Creating better processes. People, even people who say they don't want to use AI, they're afraid of it, they don't want to give it information, they're using it whether they know it or not. It's not. I think what happens in some of this is that you have to be very intentional. And what the work you do, and I want to bring this back to what you do because
Sure.
we could have an endless conversation about AI and the value and um, I found a new tool, which I'm not going to give them a plug right now until I have it to market. But at the end of the day, what would have taken me 2 years to build prior to this took 15 minutes.
Sure.
And that is not about finding tech stack, which parts of it. That is about being able to articulate in great detail what I want to build.
Yes.
And AI is great when you are intentional and you have clarity and you know exactly what you want it to do
Mhm.
and you can fine tune it. It's when you are just sitting and playing with it, right? You may not even understand the consequences of what you're creating when you sit and play with it because your environment changes without your knowledge. It now wants to please you and give you what you're asking it for. And if you're sitting and just playing with it, it is creating an environment that it thinks you want to exist in.
Yes.
So, yes, caution, caution, caution. Be intentional, be knowledgeable, learn, know what you're doing before you sit down and play. But your history of understanding organic SEO, building um, an audience through that, understanding what the algorithm wants to see and hear from you, because what makes you more relevant than the person, you know, that logged in 5 seconds ago that thinks that they're the most relevant, right? So, what
Mhm.
does that look like? Uh, for a very long time, I've been intentional about building community, both online and in person. That's what I do best. But how do you use an organic environment to intentionally build an audience that has an actual interest in what you do or what you have to say or your product that you've built.
Fair enough. So I think, first of all, I always say no one lies to the search bar, right? A search bar is a place, and now a search bar has changed, right? What is a search bar? A search bar is in Google, a search bar is in Bing. Don't sleep on Bing, especially if you're in the B2B world. There's a lot of people trapped in teams, and so they automatically default to Edge, and Edge defaults to Bing, and they don't really care about what search engine they're using at work. So they are literally on their work laptops looking stuff in B2B world, and they are trapped in Bing, and you'd see very high conversions on things there, but that's for another day. The search bar is a bar of intention, right? And I've always said the data in organic in SEO is wasted. We treated it like a channel, and we treated it like a, frankly, navel-gazing, egotistical channel, one in which we thought we were meant to be the answer to everything. And the reality is, I had to change tech speak into exec speak. And the way I often did that in most of the largest boardrooms you can think of with the CEOs and CMOs and C whatevers of some of the largest brand names you know, whether consumer or B2B or so forth, right? I would come into these rooms and speak truth to power and tell them the things they didn't want to hear, but that were really important. And in fact, explain that this data is not meant to just be demand. If
Right.
you're really good at understanding the intent behind the why of what people are searching, what keeps them up at 2 a.m., what are the things they're putting into that search bar that they don't share with their spouse, they don't share with their rabbi, they don't share with their therapist, they don't share with their most, their best friend, right? And I'm not saying we
People
need
have
to
gotten trouble doing
well,
that.
we don't need to know exactly who is searching what. So, in all fairness, and maybe not at 2:30 in the morning, because I might be taking you down the wrong path. But the stuff that does keep people up at night in business that other businesses solve, well, they don't use your language and your verbiage to necessarily find those things. They use their terms and their issues and their problem statements. And businesses have done a horrible job of translating their physical businesses in many cases to an online version. They haven't mapped it properly. They haven't put it in the context. 9 times out of 10, the reason you're not performing as well as you could in organic, if you are a mid-sized company, an extremely large company, or even a small company, is that you're in your own way. Especially in the large and mid-size, you're definitely in your own way. The mid sizes are trying to act like the big guys. The big guys move at a glacial pace. It's like turning, when you want to get something accomplished in an internet retailer, or more likely a Fortune 500 company, you are turning a cruise ship. If you're a speedboat, congratulations, you can make those turns much more adeptly, right? But you need to know where to make the turns. And what I found is the data gets treated as, well, we should rank for that. No, 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 no. You are potentially one result, at least in Google or now in the LLMs, that would come back. Here's something more interesting. What if we actually looked at everything else that shows up? Because there's more stuff you won't show up for that you probably want to than you will. So instead of trying to be the answer, which you should solve for the problem so that when you are found, however you're found, whether it's organic, email, PPC, display, any of the mechanism, referral, you should be great at solving people's problems. If you've got that down pat and you've created that, wonderful. Now you're going to convert. That is important, right? You're going to build a relationship. You might not convert that very second, but you're going to build a relationship. So you have the right thing to show up with. The real problem is you think you should be the answer to all of the need. You're not. Who answers is where you should take advantage. So, what I like to do is I like to say, oh, look, this Reddit thread for this topic, you look at a bunch of prompts that have to do with a topic, you look at a bunch of keywords that have to do with that same topic, and you understand the landscape of what is showing up. And then you place your bets accordingly, not in search, not in paid, not in PR, not in partnerships, not in social, in all of them instead of it being like this little tiny siloed approach of I'm just going to do social, no, I know that when my audience goes out looking, searching, wherever they search, the odds they're going to see this Reddit thread is incredibly high. Have we taken a subject matter expert and tried to solve for the problem that's being discussed there? Not sell, solve. Okay, there's another thing that shows up that's a publisher's article. Great. Has our PR team reached out to the person who wrote this article? Because she's probably the next person to write, get tapped by the next publisher to write an article about the same topic. And if we're top of mind for her, we might even get mentioned. We might build a relationship. Oh, wow. You know what else? We've been looking for someone to write a blog piece that supports that we do what we do. So why not have her? She seems to be an independent journalist. Why not have her come write about it with her cachet? Not because she has a million followers, okay? Because she may not, and she probably doesn't. But as a nano influencer, she's super important. Oh, wow, there's a .org that shows up. Hey, has anyone in partnership reached out to this .org and tried to build a relationship for our business? That is where the web is going. That's what we should have been doing all along, but we were so caught up in our little marketing channels, in our little strategies, that we missed the big picture. Our audience doesn't live in one of these things. They go searching, and what they find is what you need to be aware of as a business, whether it's that you haven't moved into a space yet. So it could be M&A, it could be new products, it could be new things. And you want to understand what that landscape looks like before you even put a pixel up about it, right? Or because you need a better sense of what's influencing the decisions. There's a review site that shows up that you didn't even realize. And there you only have one review on it. And your competitors each have 15 with 5 stars. Hmm, how did that happen? So I
So,
always like to say one last piece about this. Your ignorance is not bliss. It's your competitor's market share. And when they show up with a Super Bowl ad and you're scratching your head going, how the hell did that happen? Which has happened to some of my clients, I will be the one to remind them. We chose not to make certain decisions. As long as you make decisions eyes wide open, I'm good with it. If you're unaware, it's not bliss.
so again, we could talk and unpack this for a long time, but
You should have
listen,
cut me
this is
off.
I'm not cutting you off, but it is absolutely the truth. So market research, understanding the marketplace where you're at before you go to market is critically important. Understanding your competitor's landscape, right? I had somebody once tell me, I don't care what anybody else does, I just do me. I said, well, isn't that nice?
Have fun with that. Have
Yeah,
fun.
isn't,
Have fun with that. Come back to me 5 years from now, and is your business still standing? I'd love to
yeah.
know.
And there's nothing wrong with thinking that I'm gonna, put blinders on. I'm just gonna focus on what I'm doing. It's great. But at the end of the day, and if you are the market leader, that's also good, but also only for a short time. They'll figure out your rhythm. They'll figure out your reinvention every time you pivot. So so my takeaway is understanding the marketplace, understanding and doing market research before you launch, understanding your market share, right? And your competitors' market share so you can scale. You can do more of the things. And something you said, which was great because it just aligns with what I do, which is building a relationship,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Brands need to build relationships, right? For expansion. That's the organic nature, right, of SEO.
And they'll show up in weird ways. I'll give you an actual hard, tangible example. So, looking at an underdesk walking pad company, and they realize that pregnant women are an evergreen market, right? And it's a walking pad, not a running pad, not a treadmill. So, now what would we really be looking at to cross in front of that audience? Well, is it safe to walk while pregnant? How much walking while pregnant? All concepts of walk while pregnant. Well, you know what's funny? When you actually go look at the aggregate of that and who shows up most frequently, you know who shows up? March of Dimes. March of Dimes is literally a charity that deals with healthy pregnancy that shows up. And I can tell you the page that they have showing up gets about 10,500 visits a month organically from words that have to do with walking while pregnant, healthy walking while pregnant, healthy pregnancy while walking. So when you take that into account, you think, why? if I'm a walking treadmill company, wouldn't I connect with March of Dimes and say, we're going to sponsor a virtual walk, something you guys were doing during COVID anyway, so you know how to do them. We're going to give a discount to any moms to be that want to buy our treadmill to take part in this, and we're going to sponsor the entire event. But we just want to be on that page that you have that talks about that because we want to serve this audience. Good bedfellows, right? How did I find that? I found that via organic. It wasn't some partnership person connecting the dots. The dots are there to be had. The supply is going to exist. There is no search that you're going to do probably in an LLM or in a search engine that's going to render zero results. So the question then becomes is how well do you understand what people are looking for? That's what you really should know as part of your business wisdom because it's reflective of what you know about your consumer, your clientele, your prospects, and what do they find? Again, it's not always going to be a competitor. It's not always going to be, there are build, buy, or borrow opportunities in what we find in the results. If you use those strategically, you can win. Not by one channel, but like you really can win. And that's because you're doing a better job of building relationships digitally.
Stefan, how do you engage with clients at different stages? Because just having a discovery with you, I learned more about what I thought I knew, which I thought I knew. I really didn't know. But then I
You know a
spoke to
lot.
you.
Don't sell yourself short. You know a lot. There's a
But
reason
then
people are listening right now.
but then I spoke to you and I'm like, wow. Um, and I have no doubt you can engage with business owners on all levels.
Yes.
When they're first starting, right? Just the building and the grounding of the foundation.
Yeah, I mean, what I just described, for example, web presence intelligence is what I call it, right? That will probably be out of the scope of someone who's just starting out, right? You don't have the capability to go do social and partnership and display and HI and PR and all the other things, right? So you probably have to be like somewhere in the mid-market range to do that. But when you're earlier on, it's more about understanding the kinds of content and how you can get the most mileage out of the things you produce. Making sure that what you produce really does resonate with the audience, using your internal wisdom, which, by the way, in a world where everyone has an easy button, which is essentially what AI is providing us. Now, whether or not that easy button is a nuclear button or what, we have yet to figure out. But ultimately, um, an easy button has been used right now to create more, not better. If you can create better versions of the really meaningful stuff that is your actual wisdom, especially if it's proprietary, the more proprietary, I'm not saying go share proprietary data. What I'm saying is, as a business owner or founder, you have wisdom within your walls, whether those walls are digital or physical, you have wisdom. You understand the consumer, you understand the problem, you understand. And I guarantee you, if we look at your chat logs or we look at your emails or we look at your transcripts of conversations you've had internally in meetings, you can aggregate those and start to build solutions that can be used in multiple formats. And that's where we can come in and really engage with a smaller clients to understand what is it you're probably sitting on that's a gold mine that if you just repurpose it or you just position it a little bit differently, you're going to serve your audience in a way you never thought possible because you have that intrinsically you have that value. I think most companies, almost all that I've ever met, have that value. They just don't know how to unlock it properly. And AI does allow you to do it, but it also allows you to screw it up really easily too. Like really easily. Like, hey, let's just auto blog a bunch of stuff that you think is going to rank, and it ranks for a hot second, and then all of a sudden, that's a technical sound, by the way, of what your rankings will look like afterwards and your traffic. And by the way, you're not allowed to just show up again for those terms. Google has a little bit of a memory. And people, why would Google not like AI generated content, or why would the AIs not like that? Because it's a snake eating its own tail. because they use the top results in the content to feed itself. And if it's feeding itself AI and the AI is feeding itself AI, then that's a loop you never get out of, right? So the way we'd like to engage, getting back to your point, your direct question, we like to engage with people on usually annual engagements, and because what we do doesn't happen overnight. Let's be honest, it's a process, it's an evolution. Um, and we like to, we deal in all types of budgets and sizes and stuff. And we also like to do a lot of assessment. We're not a huge company, so a bad client is really bad for us, to be honest. They'll end up taking away a lot more time, money, resource, and frankly, happiness than we have to give. So we're pretty selective in who we work with, but we do that with the mindset of when we partner, not vendor, because vendor is a dirty word in my world. So please don't call me that ever. When we do partner, we're really in it to make you successful and to make us successful. So as long as we're building those kinds of relationships, we figure out the budgets, we figure out the processes, we figure out the long-term strategy.
So stage development, understanding. I mean, there's a process to what you do. And the first step, I would think, once you've agreed that you're both a good fit, is to do the audit, right?
Yes, we're doing assessments. We do a maturity assessment to ensure, like, you'd be surprised. I used to think I could have one meeting, but it turns out it's two, and it's not just because I talk a lot. Um, the first meeting after the assessment, which is really just multiple choice and a bunch of stuff that we've curated. Um, we usually have multiple people in the company fill it out because the first meeting is about dissonance. There's usually dissent among the answers, and us moderating those conversations and mediating them in a way that makes you think a little differently opens up the potential of what really is happening, because perception and reality are often two very different things. So once we agree upon what that reality is, then we can put a roadmap together where if people want to engage with us, great, we can help fulfill that roadmap. Otherwise, they can go on their own and have at it, consult with us along the way, however it is. We like to do that. And then, otherwise, we really like to get in there, talk about the content strategy, talk about how we could disseminate information, get in front of our consumers in a more effective way, connect at a deeper level. It really does. I'd love to tell you that it's like step repeat, and it probably would be beneficial for my business for it to be step repeat, in all fairness. But I would say at the period we're in our life cycle of the business, we are very much enjoying the variety and the snowflake aspect that everyone's bringing kind of a different problem to the table. And we're able to use a lot of different creative solutions to kind of solve their problems. So the more interesting your problem is, frankly, the more dopamine I'll be getting out of messing around with it.
You really have. We've now had several conversations in a short period of time. I've come away from each and every one of them with new perspective about whatever subject we were talking about. And
I appreciate it.
you have a unique vision about things that we think are commonplace, but they're really not. And when it's no different than, you know, living off of sound bites and not really reading about whatever
Sure.
the subject is. So you don't have a depth of knowledge, you just have a cursory understanding of, what it is and how it works. Once you understand what you have to share about whether it's website, brand, right? It changes the whole meaning of everything you think you understand, which is why I said earlier, I thought I knew, I didn't know. And I think it's exciting to do this with you, to share you with other people,
Thank you.
because the world is changing so fast. There are so many unknowns. There are so many things, but there are still some things where you can connect as a human, where it really does work. And I'm happy to share you. Happy to
Well,
share
I appreciate being shared. I will tell you this uh, that sometimes you have to look to the less shiny objects and the unsexy that ultimately is what gets you through the very strange and turbulent times. This happens to be in the digital world one of those times, and I think I hope that it's a moment that forces people back to do the cleaning up, the homework, the things they had kind of left behind because at the end of the day, we don't know what we'll be interpreting your site 6 months from now. Okay. We don't know what AI will look like. We don't know what the future of a search engine is, right? I could tell you I have those answers, but if I did, I'd be sitting on my yacht in the middle of the Mediterranean. And while these lights are cool, no such luck. So I will say this and leave you with this point. Since we don't know what is out there next, don't chase that. We do know that they're going to have to interpret us. So make sure the us, the website you're building, the web properties, your profiles, what you're exposing to the web, your wisdom, make sure that that is as prevalent, as easy to understand, and as out there as possible because that is what whatever's next is going to try and figure out and ultimately assess and judge and rank and pick apart and use. So that's what's in your control. Focus on what's in your control instead of trying to chase something that's not. And frankly, that's going to change at a pace that is going to make all of our heads spin.
I think the pace we're already at is an inhuman, outside of human capacity. It's not possible for all of us to keep up. And we're already there. At least I think we're there. And from this point forward, the way things change, you and I were messing with the internet before anybody really knew what it was.
Yep.
And here we are 20 years later, and maybe 25 years later, age myself.
Don't date us.
And it is drastically different. Like I remember trying to think, and we were worried about the adoption rate of desktops. You know, how fast would it be before everybody had a desktop computer? What
Yeah.
was that adoption rate, right? What did we need to build for, and how fast did we need to build it? Today, there was a time I knew almost every software that was out there. Not how to use it or build with it, but how to use it to build a client's environment online, right? There
Yeah, I
are
mean,
just,
we're at the we haven't even reached the I'm scared to put my credit card online phase of AI, right? That's going to come, by the way, in the form of like my private data and whether I want all these points connected to one another. And
you mean
there's
we're not
certain
there yet? I think we're
no, not
there.
yet. No, no, no. Trust me, trust me. Apple is going to get in that now, and you're going to see the keeper of the data is the winner in this whole thing, not the one who creates the agents. I guarantee you, feel free to use this as my hopefully hill I die on one way or the other. But you can come back to this video 5 years from now and you'll see that I'm telling you right now, the owners of access to data will win because it's proprietary and you can't easy button it. It is gated and it's accessible only through the gatekeepers. Apple is doing a great job of being a gatekeeper, not necessarily a person who walks through the gate. Agents walk through gates. So I think they made the right move. And I think you're going to see that the more you take all the stuff in your business mind, in your business experience, the stuff we never wrote down, frankly, because we didn't have to get to the point we got to, right? Lisa, I said this the other day. You and I have forgotten more than a lot of other people know. And I say that humbly in terms of marketing and business, right? That's just where we are in our careers. And I know I didn't write it all down. I wish I'd written it down because I could probably feed it to LLMs right now to help me, right? With thought leadership and all sorts of stuff. So I wish I documented all the stories along the way and the stuff and I didn't. And I think most of you probably haven't if you have as many gray hairs as I do. So the reality is like that data, that stuff within a business, that experience, that is unAIable because it's not out there. It's in here. So the more it's in the walls of your business and the more you don't necessarily give that up to someone else and you start using it as fodder to create really meaningful things, you will end up connecting a lot deeper with people because you know them. You have the community Lisa has, right? She's built a community. She knows her community. She understands what they want. She knows it's intrinsic. It's blink. It's in her gut. She has her 10,000 hours and then some, right? And this is not me. She didn't pay me to say this, but but she can pay me later. But nonetheless, like that is the reality of it, right? So game recognizes game. People recognize when people get it. They know when they're just being sold to. They know when they're being solved. They understand the difference. And if you can find a way to turn that wisdom into content that connects, experiences that connect, strategies that connect and solve, like you're going to win this AI world. Don't worry. I know everyone's worried right now, but that's the stuff that carries well beyond whatever is trying to figure you out.
So interesting. You've taken a play from Gary Vee's playbook, right? He's recorded everything for so long that he literally throws clips from 10 years ago out there and
Uh,
says, "See, I said it. I said it 10 years
Right?
ago."
Yup. I'm just
Um,
seeding. You're sitting under a tree that was planted, long ago,
yeah.
right? So I'm
Yeah.
I'm planting that seed right now. You guys watch the shade. So,
Anyway, I don't fangirl very often, but when I saw pictures of you and Gary, I was like, oh, um, but there is a common thread of fear and the unknown. There's a common thread of folks that have been doing this for decades. Not the new folks that are in the game right now. It's a game. It's been gamified.
yes.
Um, the when I was in it building a digital company in a very old legacy marketplace in healthcare. People really didn't understand. For me, I took a model that was already successful in hard print and said, wow, this is a cool new tool. I'm going to just do what I've been doing here. I'm going to do it in this cool new tool,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And it opened the door to so many things because people just didn't understand. I think in today's environment, you still have those same common threads. They're just, we're dealing with different unknowns, but the same foundational things still matter, which is what I heard you just say. The same
Yes.
foundational things that helped me connect and build online businesses back in the 90s when nobody even had a computer.
Yeah.
But I turned around and we had thousands and thousands of people on boards and conversation threads. Where'd they all come from? Right? They came from the relationship, from the
Mhm.
content that I created that I put out. Back in the 90s, we created live medical content, right? So so this is just a funny statistic. We put 50 people on a live stream and people thought it was magic.
It was magic back then, in all fairness.
50
The fact you were
people.
able to get away with that at the time in which you did it
Yeah, it was.
is magic.
But my point is the concept is the
Yes.
same. Produce content that people want to consume,
Yes.
they will find you, right?
Mhm.
But you have to produce it and put it out. So even
Yes.
then, doing that, and we created medical panels and medical conversation around healthcare and research and best practices for different disease issues. We built community around it. Because people will always need people. We
Yes.
are human. We need the contact. So,
1000%.
I want to end on a human note, relationship
Yes.
based, because with all the scary things, and they're the unknown right now about what this is going to do to the marketplace, but then again, in every turn of technology, people have had to re-educate themselves, right? To rehome themselves in new positions, right?
Yes.
The kids that went into college 4 years ago that just graduated, they're graduating into a world that didn't exist 4 years ago. So
True.
we all have to pivot, and humans don't necessarily like change.
No,
So it
we
goes back
don't.
to what you and I talked about, right? And I say this a lot. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Comfortable. Hmm.
because we're living at that moment in time where things are changing at a pace that nobody can keep up with. And if you are comfortable today, that's okay. Tomorrow, something else will happen that will make you uncomfortable. So, uh, Stefan, I am so excited. I get to meet you in person, which is
Oh, I
even
can't wait. I'm so
more
looking forward to
exciting.
that. I'm really looking forward to it. It's so overdue. So, I relish the opportunity. It's really, I don't say that lightly. I'm really excited about it.
Um, So we'll make sure when we put this out that we share all your contact information and your business and all the things and ways people can find you. But you are a wealth of
Awesome.
knowledge, a wealth of insight into how to do things differently. You see it differently, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to chat with you. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much for letting me share that, and for whatever it's worth, I hope I've been helping people and not selling stuff because that's my goal.
Awesome.